Welcome to episode 96 of the Ski Podcast, and thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking to one of the UK's most experienced journalists. We're going to be discussing Chamonix, preloved skiwear, and going back to skis with Al. I'd like to thank Switzerland Tourism for sponsoring the Ski Podcast. I don't know if you've been following it, but the Tour de Suisse is a prelude to the Tour de France. Actually finished yesterday, and Geraint Thomas became the first British winner of that. So have a little look if you'd like to find out more. I'll put a link in the show notes. Now, my name is Iain Martin. I'd like to introduce my guest today. I'm delighted to welcome from Chamonix, Claire Burnet. Hi, Claire. How are you?
Hi, Iain. I'm very well, thank you.
Regular listeners will remember Claire has been on the show before, but first time on the show is ski journalist Neil English. Hi, Neil. How are you going?
All good, thanks. All good, thanks, Iain.
Excellent. We also have another first timer on the show, Sally Warren from Who Ski. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Iain. Great to be on here. Thank you for inviting us.
It's a pleasure. And regular contributor, our equipment and kit expert, Al Morgan. Hi, Al.
Hey, Iain. How are we doing?
Very well. Now, we've got a big turnout today. I know what Al's answer is. Traditionally, I've always asked our guests when you ski or snowboarded last. But I think now we've kind of got through COVID and the lifts have been closed. I'm more interested in where you skied and snowboarded last. Let's start off with Claire. What about yourself? Where was it that you were last on snow?
Well, you wouldn't believe it, Iain, but it was in Chamonix. The last time I skied was at Balme, and otherwise I did quite a bit of ski touring during the winter as well.
Excellent. Neil, what about yourself? When were you last on snow and where was it?
Well, my last 10 days of March, which were my last 10 days of this winter just gone, were in Val d'Isère, La Plaine, and then finished in Villars, where, as you know, I partly live.
Right, that sounds like a good trip. It was 10 days on the road, was it?
It was, yeah, it was great.
How was the snow at that time?
A bit iffy. It was before the big end of season snow, which I was a bit mugged off that I had to return to England when I heard of all the end of season snow falling everywhere. But I couldn't get back for it. But hey ho, there we go.
Yeah, and Sally, what about yourself? Where were you skiing last?
Well, mine's a bit of a sob story, actually, because in 2019, it's the last time I skied. 2020, it was cancelled. And then this year, I was all set to go to France. And unfortunately, I got COVID 3 days before leaving. Oh. So I was one of the unfortunate ones who couldn't go skiing because it was in March. Got my money back from the insurance company, who are fantastic. So the last time I went skiing in 2019, I stayed in... next to Montenvers Lake, down from Ardent on the Porte du Soleil, which was amazing. And that's with the kids and the family and some friends.
I'm disappointed to hear that it's been such a long time. Hopefully, the winter season 22-23 will work out for you.
I'm hoping twice, Iain.
We like that. Pent-up demand, taking 2 holidays, good for the industry overall. Now, regular listeners will recall I was having a chat with Ian Brown in episode 94, and I thought I'd share a story with you. We've all been enjoying probably the Jubilee, certainly the extra days off. He shared with me a story about royals from the British royal family skiing in the UK. Now, he made me swear that I didn't say who they were, but I can exclusively reveal that last winter the royal family were skiing at the snow centre in Hemel Hempstead. Now, skiing does give you quite a lot of anonymity, and I think that's why celebs like it. You know, they can wear a helmet and goggles, etc., and they're hard to spot. But I can tell you that these royals inquired about booking the whole slope, whole of Hemel Hempstead. But even that turned out to be out of their budget, because as Iain said to me, to book the whole place on a Saturday would just be pretty expensive. But what they did for them, they turned up via a different entrance. They had all of their kit lined up for them. They kitted up and they just went out onto the slope and skied. So the next time you are on the slopes, even indoor in the UK, pay attention. You might have a member of the royal family next to you. Now, I wanted to ask my guest today, I wondered if any of you have ever bumped into a celebrity or member of the royal family sort of trying to be anonymous on the slopes?
Well, I have, yeah. As you may know, a certain former rugby playing royal comes to Villars fairly regularly, as he's got a very good mate there who puts him up. So I'm given to understand. I've seen him ski. I've seen him sadly not get a table at a restaurant that he was hoping for, but he didn't book, so he had to go away. But I have had a drink with him as well in one of the après ski bars called L'Arrivée, which is a little cabin at the end of a run near the Eurotel. And he's a very nice chap. He was very amiable, does a bit of ski mountaineering as well.
And just to clarify, we talk about Mike Tindall here, right?
Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah. I don't know of another former rugby playing Royal.
Excellent. Anyone else come across any celebs on the slopes?
Well, I'm not 100% sure because, like you say, it's quite a good way to disguise yourself. And they did have a helmet and goggles on. But the presenter of QI and Bake Off, a certain Sandy, I'm sure it was her.
Well, it could well be her because actually one of my clients, Ski Mojo, I happen to know that she got a Ski Mojo from them. So she's definitely a skier. So probably you were right. Right, got another item of news I wanted to just let listeners know about. The London Ski Festival, or the London Ski Show, if you wanted to call it that, has just been cancelled, sadly. This was only 10 days after they announced the start of ticket sales. So they sent out this press release saying ticket sales were on. And very shortly after that, they cancelled it. Now, the Birmingham show, the National Snow Show, is definitely still going ahead on the 15th to 16th of October. Al, I thought I'd start with you about this. I wonder what you thought about that, because it's rather disappointing that the London show, which hasn't happened for 3 years now, I think, is not going to go ahead.
Yeah, it was a bit saddening because, you know, there was a few rumblings that they might do it last year. That didn't happen. Birmingham did go ahead and was relatively successful, which is great. Birmingham is still going ahead again for this coming season, so that's exciting. But it was actually, you know, looking like we may get that London show, that festival atmosphere in the capital, and I just think that would have been really great. So it's a real shame, you know, just not to have that, all of the skiers coming together before the season.
Neil, you are based in London when you're not out in Switzerland. Would you have been going along to the London Ski Festival?
Yeah, I'm very upset that it's not going ahead. I thought it would be a great thing, especially after all the coronavirus years and everything. It would have been a really good, strong bounce back for the industry. And I'm sure everyone would have embraced it. And I happened to be in Battersea, so that's where the last London show was. So it was pretty convenient for me. And I went, the times it has been in Battersea, I've been there every day. Yeah, I just think it's a great shame. And on a personal note, my father, you may recall, some 50 odd years ago, actually started the ski show in London. It was in the Westminster Horticultural Hall. Then it became the Daily Mail ski show in Olympia and Earl's Court for donkey's years before the Telegraph got hold of it. And so I always liked there to be a show, and I've worked there for many years as a kid and all of that. So I hope it comes back in some form sooner or later.
Yeah, I hope so too. That's really interesting because actually I was talking to my mum about the ski show, and she said that she went along. You said it was at the Royal Horticultural Society?
That's right. It's a hall in Westminster. Yeah, it's called the Horticultural Halls, and it's just around the corner from Westminster.
Yeah.
Then Boys' School.
Listening back to this, I realise that I should have pointed out earlier that Neil's father was Sir David English, a British journalist, and he was newspaper editor of the Daily Mail for over 20 years, from 1971 to 1992, and clearly a great ski lover. Right, and when your dad started it, who was it the Daily Mail show from the start?
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah, because he wouldn't have been involved without it. And he set it up with an exhibition specialist, which was kind of key too, called Peter Anslow, many, many years ago. And they kind of just took it on to strength, and it did become a big festival. You may recall, you know, with the Peter Stuyvesant stunt team almost hitting the kind of rafters in the Earl's Court. Terribly exciting, huge crowds applauding.
I mean, I worked at the show as well a whole number of years back in the time when it was a 10-day show that ran over 2 weekends. Bloody exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
People working at the show, but amazing that it would be on for 10 days. And, you know, listeners probably have heard me go on about this before. It wasn't so long ago where you could you had that London show, you had a Birmingham show, a Manchester show. There was also small shows in Brighton and Southampton. There was one in Glasgow as well. And now, we just have one, which is a tremendous shame, really. Claire, have you exhibited before at any of the ski shows in the UK?
Oh yeah, all of the ski shows. Yeah, we exhibited many times in London. A couple of years running, we had a pavilion there, and we brought over all our resort partners, and even the MBC, which is the microbrasserie of Chamonix, which I think you know, and they came over with their beer. And the Midnight Art Gallery, which is now based in London. But we also exhibited in Manchester and Birmingham and Glasgow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a great shame, and I'm a believer in the rising tide floats all boats, and to have that London show on as well as the Birmingham show would have been really good, but for whatever reason, they do say that they're going to put it on again in 2023. So let's keep our fingers crossed that does happen. Another item of news, I'm delighted to report that the Travel Ski Express is back for next winter. Regular listeners will know I travelled on the inaugural service. There's a bonus episode about that and a video out there. There is a slight change from last year, which is instead of doing the overnight direct from London to the Tarentaise on the Friday night, they're now changing that. So the travel out will be in the day on the Saturday. You'll still be able to ski 7 days, and you'll come back at the end of the day on the Saturday, overnight, Saturday to Sunday, arriving back into St Pancras on the Sunday morning. And I think that overall that probably is better, because it's quite hard to sleep in those upright seats. There's no couchettes or anything like that, and so it gives you a chance to perhaps recover on the Sunday before you get back to the UK. And they report that they did that on the basis of feedback from the different people who travelled out this season. Let me check. Neil, have you ever travelled out on the train to the Alps before?
I have, not on the Travel Ski Express in that format, and I can imagine that having to kind of sit up would be pretty tough. I remember as kids long ago, there's 3 kids and I'm the youngest in my family. Mum and Dad used to put us on the train, and they used to pick us up down in Geneva. Obviously, it wasn't then even the Eurostar or anything, but we used to go down to the Alps by train. They were a bit superstitious about, sometimes they even flew to destinations separately as parents as well. But we loved it. The 3 kids, we had our own couchette, and it was great adventure to start off our ski holiday. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, couchettes are definitely
I'm in favour of couchettes. Yeah,
and in fact, the French are SNCF are bringing back more overnight services around France, coming in over the next few years. At the moment, there aren't so many. Claire, I was out in Chamonix back in May. I guess that was only a month ago. It feels like a very long time ago. Travelled out by train then. Have you travelled by train back and forth between the UK and France at all?
Yes, I have, but it's not that straightforward, I must admit. I mean, it involves a change in Paris, obviously, and then you have to change if you have a direct train in Saint-Gervais-les-Bains to get up to Chamonix. So whilst we do have a railway station in resort, things could be improved, and I hope, as you say, that we're going to get a better rail network over the next few years.
Although I have, when I came out, I did change at Annecy on the way through, and then at Saint-Gervais. I have taken the direct train between Paris and Saint-Gervais, and it's just not every day, is it, that train?
No, it's
only days a week.
It's only at weekends and only at certain periods. And then there used to be the night train, which they knocked on the head, but hopefully it's going to come back.
Yeah, I hope that will come back as well. For sure. Well, it's good news that Travel Ski Express is going to be running again this winter. Regular listeners will know I'm a big fan of train travel, reduce your emissions, and I've got to touch on the fact that I'm sure everybody knows in France they had their hottest May ever. They're on course for the hottest June ever at the moment. Val d'Isère unfortunately announced that they're not going to be opening their glacier this summer for the first time in a very long time. However, there is skiing going on, and we've got a few snow reports. I've got a report from Alex, who's reported for us several times before. Alex Armand from Tip Top Ski Coaching in Les Deux Alpes, who's on the glacier there. Alex from 150 Days of Winter, who was out in Tignes this weekend for their first day. And also we've got Jasmin Taylor, the British telemarker, who was in episode 94. She mentioned to us that she was heading out to Hotham in Australia, and she has sent us a snow report from there as well.
This is Alexandra Armand from Tip Top Ski Coaching in Les Deux Alpes with an update on our snow conditions on the glacier here in Les Deux Alpes. I've been skiing over the weekend, and whilst the snow is in currently very good condition, we don't have as much snow as we would like for this time of year due to a fairly dry winter and a very dry and warm springtime. The resort are doing everything they can to make sure that the snow remains good, but due to the quantity of bash snow, the opening dates have been amended and the glacier will close at the end of July. So if you would like to come skiing this summer, it would be recommended to come as early as possible. The glacier is open to the public currently and will close on the 31st of July. Conditions in the morning are firm at the moment with the clear evenings, and temperatures are warm, so the snow is warming up fairly quickly in the mornings. The glacier stays open till 12:30 for the main slopes and 1 o'clock for the snow park. So up bright and early if hard-packed snow is what you're after for carving, racing, etc. And a little bit later if you would prefer the snow to have softened just a little bit and become more like hero snow. We look forward to welcoming you onto the glacier this summer, and if anyone would like any further information, I can be contacted via Tip Top Ski Coaching. Thank you.
Hi Iain, Alex from 150 Days of Winter on the second day of the summer ski season, and I'm afraid to say the Team Glacier is not looking good. It's best summed up by a member of the team staff. After asking if I had seen the state of the snow, she perfectly summarised the situation. It's not good, but it's not bad. On exiting the funicular, the true extent of what a hot May and June can do to a glacier was revealed. The main piece from the top of the Grand Mont was 50 shades of grey, completely unreadable, unskiable. Even though the temperature on the glacier was below 10 degrees by 8 a.m, the normally firm frozen piece were already soft and slushy. Of the runs that were open, crevasse holes were numerous, and the sound of running water down the piece was all too noticeable. I'm sorry to sound like a pessimist, but if these conditions continue, the original July 31st closing date will most likely be June 31st. And even then, that's being optimistic. I must clarify, this isn't a global warming thing, it's just a bad snow year. The last time I saw it in this state was back in July 2015, and that was a month later than this year. So as I descend down to Borg, where the temperature is around 40 degrees, this is Alex from 150 Days of Winter signing off and hoping you will come and visit my YouTube channel. Ciao.
Hello Iain and Ski Podcast listeners. This is Jasmin Taylor here, telemark skier. I'm currently in Hotham in Australia, and the season is off to a fantastic start. I believe the best they've had in 22 years, since 2000. There's plenty of snow up here and many more lifts are open compared to usual. It's really busy, and we're now gearing up for the holidays, where I'll be working as a ski instructor and a race coach, so doing something a bit different this summer, winter. But yeah, looks to be a great start, and like I said, the snow is amazing. I don't know if you can hear, but they're producing snow in the background because it's cold enough, and it's a nice sunny day. So yeah, wishing everybody a great summer from down under.
So some interesting contrasts there between the northern hemisphere, where they're struggling a little bit for snow, and the southern hemisphere, where they've got record amounts of snow for the start of their season. Just a note that the next episode is going to be a special on Australia and New Zealand. We have Paul Anderson from nzski.com and Rachel Oakes-Ash from Snow's Best, and we'll be talking about Australia and New Zealand then. Now, as we near our 100th episode, I'd really like to know more about what you like and don't like about the the Ski Podcast. Our 2022 survey is now live. It only takes a couple of minutes. I would really appreciate your feedback. I've put a link into the show notes, and as an extra incentive, we have a couple of pairs of Atomic 4Q HD goggles to give away, plus some other prizes, including beanies and buffs from Tyrol, Les Deux Alpes, Val d'Isère, etc. Especially interested in what your thoughts are about the length of the show. Because typically we do about an hour episode, but, you know, would you prefer it shorter? Would you prefer it longer? We've had a lot of responses so far. One thing I noticed is that of the people who've responded, 80% of respondents are men. Now, if you're a female listener, get on there and fill out that questionnaire, the survey, and let us know. I'd really like to know that we're providing for a diverse audience. Right, Neil, I was doing a little bit of research before we came onto the air, and I discovered that you've skied in over 400 ski resorts. That's pretty good going. Well, I wonder what age you started skiing. You mentioned taking the train to the Alps when you were younger.
Yeah, well, I started age 6 when my mother actually decided that as a family of 5, it would be a good thing to do. I can remember her saying that we're all, I mean, much later in life, the reason for that was because on Spanish holidays and things like that, she felt that maybe the sun was going to our heads and made us fairly disagreeable young people. So she thought, let's try snow. And at the time, snow was expanding, out of just skiing holidays for the elite and into more mainstream. So we drove out to the Alps for the first 3 or 4 years in a big Jaguar, 3 kids in the back, all saying, are we nearly there yet? And Dover hasn't even appeared, so can we go to the loo all at different times? So it took 2 full days to drive out. No auto route back in those days, so that was all part of the adventure too. Yeah, so started early.
Yeah, and then since then, I think we actually met last week at a different event. You mentioned to me that you did a ski season with Nielsen. What were you doing for them?
I was what they called ski guide at that time, and then obviously with all the ramifications of that and problems with ski schools and things, they had to change that kind of name. But I did 2, maybe even 3 seasons with Nielsen. Yeah, it was great. You had to be a qualified ski instructor at the time to get a ski guide job with Nielsen, and you just put on different programs and advertised it during the week, whatever resorts you did. And I just loved skiing with people. I didn't really teach, but obviously the French ski school used to think that maybe we were. We weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I think these days, ski guiding doesn't exist as far as something that's provided by tour operators. No. I was also a ski guide for Bladen Lines, at a similar time. And, I really enjoyed it. I'm also, you might say, like a people person. I love chatting to people. Absolutely. Sometimes it was a little frustrating when there was perfect powder, out on the hills and you had to go skiing with clients and the rest of your friends could just go and tackle the off-piste.
It can be frustrating. When I did my season in Valmorel for Nielsen, I got a really good gig going with the guys I met from Val Grisons who ran heli skiing days. And I would always offer on the coach, first day, just fresh off the plane, any good skiers, interested in it, please let me know straight away. And I got a fairly good rate for them. And my seat was always paid for by 3 or 4 other people. And we got about 10 weeks of that, which was brilliant. And we used to get up really early in the morning, drive them down there. And I used to have to hire another guide to do the Nielsen guiding and give him my uniform. And Nielsen never knew anything about that. Sorry, Nielsen. Many changes of management since then. So there we are.
And, how did you segue into journalism from that?
Well, I didn't really. I had about an 8-year career in advertising agencies, not knowing what I was really wanting to do with my life. But it was great fun. My brother-in-law kind of convinced me. He was a creative director in another agency and said, you'll be good. You'll be a good account man. You need a lot of bullshit. And you just need to love people and you'll be good with the clients. So I kind of got a couple of interviews and I did that for 8 years and it was great. And it was when that changed that I went into journalism. They had a bit of a revolution in advertising agencies and it all got a little bit too serious and unpleasant and lots of jobs were going. And I thought, well, maybe I'll finally listen to Dad and try journalism.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it. I went to work on the Leicester Mercury and then at Press Association and eventually into travel writing when I discovered what a good life people could have doing that instead of doorstepping politicians and things like that. So,
right, exactly. Travel writing being the way to go. And is that how you managed to accumulate such a large number of resorts that you visited?
Mostly, yeah. I did do an awful lot on my own before I got that, because I didn't really go into kind of full-time travel writing till maybe 35, 36, but I'd done an awful lot of skiing with my friends and family up until then. Yeah, it was our annual family holiday, so we all became pretty good skiers, and all very keen. So we're always looking for. I love Villars intensely, but it is a fairly small area, and I just wanted to keep going out and discovering more. So we did, and I just got that circuit of people that love skiing, you know.
And you mentioned Villars, so you share your time between the UK and with Villars, which is in the Valais in Switzerland. You mentioned it's quite small.
It's in the Vaud canton, just
excuse me,
to Valais. Yeah,
it's in Vaud. What's it like as a resort?
I really like it. It's not for everybody, because it is kind of boutique compared to something like, you know, the Four Valleys, Verbier, and other things. If you really like the huge resorts, the Trois Vallées, the Porte du Soleil, the Chamonix, etc. But it is. It's got its own pace. It's an authentic year-round village. It's stunning from wherever you happen to be, and I've never tired of it skiing. And I must be in my 54th year there now, so that's pretty good. But you know, once you know a place inside out, you can always find places to ski where no one else is going to go.
Right. Well, I know you're the expert on it, because I did notice that last winter, Matt Hancock, who sort of achieved his fame perhaps for the wrong reasons, escaped to Villars. And I think the Telegraph were on the phone to you straight away, asking for inside information, as you're the man. Did you manage to track him down?
I did. I wasn't actually there at the time, but through friends and things like that, I managed to track him down. And the Telegraph had got hold of a picture that someone had taken on their phone, and he was leaving some building with a couple of other people, and that helps me a lot, because I knew who those other people were, and I knew the bar that they were coming out of. So I said, yeah, I'd help them, but I wouldn't reveal his close friends and things like that. So so I managed to do a little piece for the Telegraph on Hancock and his new squeeze in Villars.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not sure he's the biggest celebrity. You mentioned Mike Tindall,
No.
who goes there on a regular basis. I also think I'm right in saying that it's kind of attracted sort of Formula One race drivers as well, because I recall historically, and you can tell me if this is right or not, Jacques Villeneuve used to have a place there.
I think he still does, actually. Formula One did go there because there was a thing called set up by the wife of Craig Pollock, who ended up being mentor and Formula One manager of Jacques Villeneuve. He was head of the BAT Formula One team, for anybody that knows that. And she just ran this 24-hour charity race, and we all had to ski for 24 hours. And it raised an awful lot of money for disadvantaged and sick children, including great things like Great Ormond Street and Great Ormond Street Hospital. And so it attracted people. So, yeah, we had Jackie Stewart as well, and his... they have a chalet there still, I think, and his son Paul's regulars there. They were part of it. David Coulthard had a chalet there for a long time, and they always took part in this race, so it attracted lots of other people, and lots of people tried to raise money for months beforehand before it all took place. And it was a great show event too. I'm very sad that it doesn't continue now, but yeah, racing drivers galore.
Right, interesting. I mean, I know that racing drivers have always really enjoyed skiing. I think people are probably very familiar with Michael Schumacher, but also in Marabella, I remember being told, "Oh, that's Alan Prost's chalet over there," and you know, watch out for this small guy on a snowboard, you know, scooting around the place. I guess they just like going fast, right?
I think so. Damon Hill also took part in that, came to Villars a couple of times, and he's become a pretty sharp skier. He's done some racing in other events that you might know about, which are kind of recreational events too. He's kind of a good skier, yeah.
I shared a chairlift with Damon Hill at the City Ski Championships a few years back.
That's it, yeah.
And yeah, he was a very decent skier. And in fact, my dad was kind of more excited hearing that I just like sat next to him than anything else about all the other places that I've been skiing. But that's really interesting. And you tend to spend the winter out there, do you, and the summer over here?
Yeah, it's mixing up a bit now because I'm not a Swiss resident. I never kind of put my papers out there. I might do that depending on what happens after Brexit and Schengen, because now I'm subject to the 90 out of 180 day rule and that rolling arrangement. So mixing it up more. And I love the summers out there too. I really do. I wouldn't say it comes into its own, but it's a very special place in summer too.
Well, I mean, I love the mountains in summer, and that's really interesting to hear about that, and also your career in the industry. That's brilliant, Neil. I'm going to move on to Claire now. Claire, I came out to Chamonix last month, and I do enjoy it in summer. There was still quite a lot of snow around when I went for my hikes, but I think you've just had your film festival in Chamonix. How was that?
Yes, it was great. It was very successful. So it's the second edition. There were 35 films in competition. A very good jury with Conrad Anker, the American mountaineer, who's pretty famous, who's the patron of the festival. And then there were workshops in the mountains, bivouacs and guided outings. And so it went very well.
Were they all kind of adventure films then? They weren't like Hollywood releases?
Oh God, no! It's all mountain films. The theme of the festival is adventure, nature, and culture. So it's quite a nice mix. It's not all about climbing mountains. And there's a very nice environmental angle to it as well.
Right, because I did a summer season in Chamonix in 1996, and they had a premiere or an avant-premiere of a Mike Leigh movie called Secrets and Lies there, and they actually had one of the actresses who turned up. I think her name is Marianne Baptiste. I don't know if a listener or you have seen this film, and I'm pretty sure that was part of the Chamonix Film Festival at the time. Maybe it's kind of changed a bit over the years.
Well, there have been previous film festivals, and then there was the Chamonix Adventure Festival, which was run by Katie Moore for several years, and with a very close partnership with Kendall Mountain Festival as well. And then that came to an end, and so last year this new film festival saw the day. But so there are a lot of athletes, obviously, but also authors and filmmakers. So a lot of conferences and guest invites. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, when I was out in Chamonix, I took the Montenvers train. Actually, took it down rather than up, and I'm aware there's a lot of work already underway because I saw all the kind of cranes up there. I think they're probably digging out the foundations, but I wonder if you could, this is a long project. I wondered if you could just give us an insight into what's going on at Montenvers. How are they changing things around there?
Yeah, this is a major project. I think it's a 56 million euro project at the moment, but it's in two parts. One is to change the location of the gondola lift, which goes down from the Montenvers station down onto the glacier, because that lift they've had to add a staircase from the bottom of the lift, and every year they have to add more stairs. So we're now at 500 steps down once you've taken the lift. And if you imagine that when the lift opened, which was in about 1988, the lift came right down onto the glacier. So that just illustrates the how much mass the glacier has lost. So that lift will be dismantled, and there's a new lift which is being built higher up. So it's right at the end of the Montenvers station, and then it will go up and along the glacier to a point about, I think it's about 700 meters further, sort of up glacier. And that should open in December 2023. So that will mean getting off the glacier when you ski the Vallée Blanche will be much easier because you won't have to negotiate all the steps. And it also means that people wanting to get down to the glacier to visit the ice grotto can do it without absolutely wearing themselves out.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tremendous shame that this is the reason for it, that the glacier, has melted and become lower. And, I first skied the Vallée Blanche in about 1983 or 84, something like that. So evidently that lift wasn't there, but I have seen a graphic which I'll share in the show notes. At the time there were like 3 steps to get back up, and now there's 500 sadly. But I think as part of the new development there at Montenvers, there's also going to be like an environmental centre, so you can find out more about how climate change is affecting the mountains.
Absolutely. There's going to be a glacier and interpretation centre, they call it, which will be very much about, but not just focusing on the Mer de Glace. It'll be more of a global experience, and also talking about meteorological conditions, and that will open in 2024.
I certainly recommend going up there, and I always try and get up to Montenvers when I'm around in the summer. But I'm also aware that there's work going on one of the other lifts, and if my pronunciation is correct, I'm going to say it's the Charamaillon. Is that right?
Charamaillon.
There you go. Close enough. That's down towards the Latour end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's at the northern end of the Chamonix Valley, and it's the lift that accesses the Latour Balme ski area. And so they're replacing that gondola lift, which will open in December 2023. So the capacity is being increased over twofold. It will be a 10-seater gondola for 10-seater gondola, but transporting 2,200 people an hour. So
sure, but so the work's going on this summer now, but it's not opening it for another more than a year hence. Will it still be operating next winter then?
Oh, sorry. No, it's opening this winter. I beg your pardon.
Oh, December
2023. Sorry. Yeah.
December 2022. That all the years blend together now. Right. That makes sense now. Yes. So they're doing the work now. Yeah. And it's going to open for this winter. Cool. That's excellent. I know there's always, a lot of investment going on in the lift system in Chamonix. And look forward to getting out there, hopefully, and trying that one. That's brilliant, Claire. Thanks for that update.
You're welcome.
Sally, I'm going to move on to you now. Lots of guests on the show today. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show was I think you flagged this up, although my daughter is watching Love Island every day at the moment, that actually the contestants on Love Island, and this is probably the only time ever I'm going to mention Love Island on the podcast, but they've all been equipped with clothing from eBay. And I saw a quote from the head of fashion buying at eBay, someone called Jemma Tadd, who said that Love Island has the power to change consumers' perceptions around secondhand clothes. And, I genuinely hope it does. But I wanted to speak to you, Sally, because your business, Whoski, is all about pre-loved clothes, right?
That's totally correct. It was set up to fill the market because there was no specific website to buy and sell pre-loved clothes in a peer-to-peer format. And we really celebrated the whole Love Island thing. Personally, I'd like to see Love Mountains, which will be more about sustainability and buying the right clothes. But we might get there one day, who knows? But hopefully not bikini clad.
But so the website itself then is whoski.com, and you're essentially saying, I mean, would it be right if I said it's a kind of eBay specifically for snow sport items?
That's absolutely. It's not an auction site, and it is all pre-loved secondhand gear. So you can upload your skiwear, ski clothes. You put the price on, and then someone else can purchase it. And what's sustainable about it? Some websites will ask you to post the gear in. They will check the gear. If they don't like it, they'll post it back to you. Or if they do like it, they'll keep it, photograph it. But it then goes on this really long journey to the end user. What the benefit of our site is you post your item and then you send it directly to the people who've purchased it.
And do you, just that, out of interest, then, do you think that, this decision by Love Island, evidently it's getting, a lot of exposure, the TV program itself. I don't know how many people watching it are aware that they have a bunch of pre-loved clothes, but using my daughter as an example, she's often on a app called Vinted, buying and selling clothes on there, which is also, pre-loved items, I think.
That's right. I mean, Gen Z, Gen X, that they are really into purchasing pre-loved. 60% of them will do it. Unlike people who are over 30, it's around 30% will consider it. So it's a very different statistic. They're really into the environment. I think we all know about tortoises eating plastic straws, but recently skiwear was found in Africa, and fashion designers there are putting their hands up going, what are you doing? You can't send this stuff. It doesn't degrade. It lasts for 200 years. The materials are really, really awkward to recycle. So there are companies doing the right thing, trying to make more sustainable gear, but the best thing we can all do is continue to keep our ski wear in the circle of wearing it and give it to someone else as well. And we've just partnered with Hallsbury, who are a school ski trip provider, because they realise, as many agents do now realise, it's students, school children are actually now demanding it from their parents, saying, don't get us new, we can do secondhand for the week. I mean, when I first skied when I was at school, I had to rent an outfit. It was quite an awful outfit, I have to say. It didn't fit at all. But I think it might be quite trendy now, because what we're seeing is also in terms of a fashion statement, people want day glow again. There's very much an 80s, 90s look. So if you've got that in your wardrobes, get it out, sell it, because students love it.
No, that's true enough. I mean, I remember when I was involved with the British University's ski championships when we were sponsoring it as part of Natives, that the onesies, are incredibly popular. If you can come up with those, and the bright and neon they're always going. Well, I'm going to say they always going through a revival, but definitely at the moment. But, one of my favourite tops ever was an M&S jumper that was a ski jumper that had a kind of rainbow stripes in it. I'd love to have that now. That would be right on trend.
I seem to remember C&A sold a similar one as well.
It wasn't M&S, it was C&A. That's
it was C&A, and I think we all wanted that jumper. Yeah, it was a great jumper, and I think what's good about pre-loved is you will find different things on there. I think we're also finding the family markets are finding it really useful, and a lot of our customers were men towards the end of it, a bit last minute towards Easter, who suddenly panicked when they realised that they didn't have any kids' ski gear. They came onto our website and purchased a whole load of stuff to go away. And I think that it's gone away. Gone are the days of when people sort of look down on secondhand. It's great to have secondhand. It's great to have pre-loved. Because of the internet, we can see the quality of it. We can ask those questions, and it's a really strong community. I mean, we've just joined Reaction. You've had Gavin on from One Tree on a Time on this before, and there's a whole load of partners who are really trying to push the whole ski green agenda. So I think it's a really interesting time. 2 years ago, when we first started talking to people were not interested, and things like Love Island, things about making stuff, doing things, there is a total change in consumer behavior, and the ski industry has to keep up. And I think we're getting there. And I think the next couple of years we'll see some big changes. And I think what the resorts are doing is getting a lot better. I think travel, we need to work on that. But if we can get the clothes right, the fashion industry is the third biggest polluter in the world, and ski gear is part of that problem. So let's see what we can do to make it easier for everybody.
Cool. Well, and that is really interesting, Sally. Thanks very much for that. And I guess, listener, if you'd like to have a look and see what's available, go along to whoski.com and you'll be able to do that there. Now, I'm just actually going to drop something in that is not on our provisional running order, because yesterday I ended up doing a short interview with a Swedish chap called Per-Johan Astrand, and I probably pronounced that wrong, but his adventure was brought to my attention by Protect Our Winters. He is currently cycling 3,000 kilometers from Sweden to Italy to raise awareness of climate change. So let's have a little listen to that interview. I wanted to speak to you because recently I was contacted by Protect Our Winters who told me about an incredible bike ride that you're doing. I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about yourself and why the bike ride and why you've decided to do it.
The ride has kind of been a dream that I've had for a couple of years, let's say. So a lot of planning. The thing was, it was my dream to join up a place where I go every summer. I have been doing that for the more than 50 years nearly. And it is a paradise regarding cross-country skiing, snow, and a lot of sports and stuff like that. So a lot of athletes, but also a lot of outdoor fans like myself, Falun. And I wanted to join that place with another place where I even go even more, because I live down there in Italy since 30 years or whatever, 25. So, and that is Monterosa. So that's a ski resort, but a really nice one for free ride, and let's say a little less touristic than many others.
Yeah, I've been to Alagna and skied in Monterosa, and I can back that up. Such a great free ride ski area.
That's right. So, but even there, if you are there, and in fact, I mean, if you look at the last, say, 50 years more, you can really see how much it has changed. Because when my parents took me first time there were summer skiing up there, 2 ski lifts, and you went all the ride up with the Funivia. That Funivia is closed, and then they built a new one now. But you skied in the summer. You could just dream about that now. It doesn't exist anymore. Absolutely. I mean, you go up and you walk or whatever, and you walk with the seal skins up there. But there is no summer skiing. Absolutely. Anyway, that glacier is going therefore upwards in altitude, let's say, and the snow up here in Sweden is going northwards, latitude wise.
Yeah.
Right. So my dream was to connect these two places, paradises I call them, with a long ride, and I couldn't do it in wintertime because it's prohibitive. Okay. So it became like, let's do it in the summertime when I could plan for it. And then it became like, why don't I was already a member of PO Sweden, so Protect Our Winter Sweden, like a member. And then I contacted PO Sweden and said, look, this is my dream. Do you want to join me, or not as a sponsor, because that's not what I'm after. I wanted to be partner with them.
Yeah.
And they were just great. I mean, so they took on my challenge, and now they are making public some of the things in Instagram and on the web.
That is how I found out about it.
Exactly.
Overall. And you know, it's an incredibly long distance that you're looking to take on, isn't it? Because you're starting in Sweden, you're going all the way to Italy. How many kilometers is that?
It's 3,089, including this Vätternrundan, which I did yesterday night.
And can I ask then? So, how many days are you planning for the trip? How many kilometers do you anticipate cycling per day?
So this is. I mean, I planned this quite. You have to do it really meticulously. So it's in commute, all my tracks and the daily routes I have. So I do average 120 kilometer per day, and I do that 3 days, and I rest 1 day. And that resting day, I have already booked places, or they are at friends' houses. So it's a kind of a day where I can recover.
I know that you cycle, I think maybe kind of 7,000-8,000 kilometers per year in general. So you're pretty fit.
Yeah. Even more than that, but I never reached 10,000, but I hope to reach at least 9 this year. I started by commuting to my job, right? It was like 10 kilometers, and then more and more, and basically now I'm up in 8,000-9,000 kilometers per year. So yeah, I don't go to the job anymore with the bike, but yeah. I do a lot of biking outside. So that's what I do.
Well, it's very impressive, and I know you've only just started. You're still in your first week, so you've got a long way to go. But I want to wish you all the best for the rest of the journey, and I hope that everything you're doing continues to help bring awareness to the threat that the mountains have from increasing climate change.
Exactly. That's why I do it, and it became like this. I mean, it's my dream, but it's also to be able to keep this countryside and to, mind you, I mean, I worked all my life or most of my life with the common agriculture policy. So it's also nature landscape which we ride through. So the mountains, the agriculture, the forest, and have it all kind of safeguard this for us and for the future, for our kids and whoever. So we need to keep this. We need to rethink. One of the issues which I really got, or I liked Pau for, is that you can't change everything at once, but you can do small pieces at a time. You can't be perfect directly. So let's take one step, and that's what I'm trying to do. Let's take one, each of us, do something and that's how you reach it, yeah?
That is a really good message, I think, to finish on.
That's
really good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, and you can get back to your recovery now. And wish you the best. I'll put a link into the show notes where people can follow you, but it's at protectourwinters.eu/ride-for-glaciers, or on your Instagram.
That's right.
Instagram as well, which I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Iain. Bye-bye.
Right, so we've been discussing like pre-love kit, but we also talk about new things as well. Now, Al, in the last episode, we talked about the Vulcan Deacon 72, the ski that you loved at the ski test, and it provoked quite a lot of conversation on the website Snowheads. One of the users called Grinning said, "What a great conversation starter for June." Another user whose username is Old Fartbag said, "I listened to what Al said with interest. I don't think I've ever heard him be so enthusiastic over a ski." Ski Master said, "Interesting listening to Al." But we had a few comments I wanted to pick out, and I've shared with you already. Be interested to hear what you have to say about them. Bob in CH said, "Is he truly independent, or is he friendly with the different suppliers, etc.?" What's the answer to that, Al?
Well, just talking about, I'm going to come straight to that, but I just want to apologise to listeners first off. So that Master 72 and the Deacon 76. So basically, there are two skis: the Volcal Deacon Master 72 and the Volcal Deacon 72, which replaces the current 74. So we were talking about the Deacon 72. Now that's a poplar and beech multi-layer wood core. I'd said poplar and ash, which is the Master core. Totally my fault. Slip up. I know exactly what the cores are because I've done loads of work around these skis. But yeah, for those eagle-eared out there that spotted it, well done.
Well, I'm not sure that I don't know if anyone did spot that, but yeah, in terms of that question, then your independence, how does that come into play?
The easy answer is I'm not sure I could ever be truly independent. I've worked in skiing for 20 plus years. I've done loads of different roles. I've worked for retail, I've worked for brands, I've worked for membership organizations, all manner of things. Now, skiing in the UK is such a small, tight-knit community that everybody knows each other. And, some of my best friends work in skiing. So, the cynic in me would go, well, hold on, you're never going to be truly independent because you know these people. So for me, my whole approach, and this, you're the perfect example. I've known you for a good part of that 20 years in the various roles that you've occupied in skiing. That's just how it is. So the main thing for me is I'm a skier. I love skiing, but being on the right kit really makes a massive difference. And I've had people help me in the years with kit information, and that is what I'm trying to do, give as independent as possible, expert, informed information to help people make the best decisions about their kit.
Well, I think you do it really well, and the fact that you're so enthusiastic in that last report about the Deacon 72, it just came across so much. And you ski on a lot of skis. There was someone else who had a question. They suggested that you skied it with a rental binding, and that the choice of binding can affect the ski. Now, I wondered, whether that was a factor at all. What do you think about that?
The point is totally valid. It's not a rental binding on that ski. So long time ago, all skis were flat. You drilled a hole in them, screwed bindings onto them. And then when people go to rent bindings, they need to adjust it for a lot of different boot sole lengths. So you have a rental binding that will adjust the different lengths, because the screw-on system doesn't adjust so much, maybe 30, 50 mil. But about 10 years or so ago, maybe a bit longer, we had system bindings where rails are mounted on the skis or created within the core of the ski, and the binding can therefore adjust over a massive range. And that's the same whether you go into a rental shop and get the ski or whether you buy that ski for yourself. And that is the system that the Deacon skis use. So it uses their R-Motion 2 plate, which has a massive amount of adjustment on it. It's the same binding on their Race Tiger GS. Off the top of my head, it's the same binding that was used on the Deacon 74 last year. So the binding doesn't make a difference. In terms of, comparing ski to ski, I've done quite a bit of testing around using different bindings on skis, and it does make a difference. There are other things, servicing of a ski, construction of a ski, that can have a bigger impact, but binding can change how a ski behaves, absolutely.
Right, okay. And then another question that was brought up by another user, Bigger Q. It was really a question of 72. Do you think that 72 underfoot, can that be an all-mountain ski, or is that just always going to be a piece ski?
This is a great question. All mountain is not a perfectly defined term. So there is a massive amount of grey in ski terms. It's easiest to think of, there are skis, and wider skis are better in powder typically, and narrower skis are better on firm snow. But then there's a massive variety in that. To help people kind of choose a ski, we have categories like piste and all mountain and freerider powder. If you go to North America, an all mountain ski might be 106 mil underfoot, so the width under the boot. If you go to Europe, an all mountain ski might be 72, 74, 78 mil. But just taking a step back on questions as well, I think you're talking before, certainly in the notes, somebody mentioned about, can you tell the difference in skis, with the binding? If you've got a ski with the same geometry and price point, but from a different brand or whatever, would you, as a tester, can you tell the difference? And this is the kind of ultimate test, if you want, when we are demoing and reviewing products. So my classic example of this is Salomon QST 99. They kept the ski exactly the same, but they changed the layup inside the ski, but you could really tell it. And so it came out of the factory off the same service machine by the same people in the factory, but with a slightly different layup in the ski, exactly the same shape, exactly the same price. And you can feel the difference in that ski. So absolutely you can. But also when we look at skis, take geometry as a guide. So just very quickly on the Head Magnum ski, they changed the geometry of a ski one year and kept the length the same. So rationally, the radius of the ski should change, but Head kept it quoted as the same. These are just guides. Length on a ski, if you get a 176 K2, it's different to a 176 Head. So it's worth just kind of using these just as guides.
Cool. I wasn't even going to bring that one up because I knew, that you would say, of course, I don't have any doubt at all that you can tell the difference, between these skis. You skied on so many before, and we really do enjoy listening to your analysis of all of the skis. So thanks very much for that, Al. Right, we're coming towards a close now. I enjoy all feedback about the show, so please do get in contact. You can leave reviews, comments, wherever you want to, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, social media, email. And don't forget to fill out that survey. I've got a few comments from people since the last episode. Andrea Dalton said she found the section with Diane Palumbo from Ski World really interesting. Said it was a shame for English young people who want to do a season. We were talking about Brexit and those issues, but another fab episode. Bob in CH, we mentioned him before. He said he enjoyed the last episode and that Diane was really funny. Great work. Anon said, thank you so much, Iain, for keeping going during the last 2 years. Your podcasts have helped me more than you probably know, for me at least, during challenging times. I love hearing about everything related to the mountains. Long may it continue. Well, I really appreciate that. And thank you very much. Also, in from Ryunis said, great to put a voice to latania.co.uk. That was Toffer in the last episode. He says it's a fantastic website and a really good source of info. Keep up the good pods. They help me feel tuned into the mountain community. So that's what we're trying to do, even in the middle of summer. So you can still feel in touch with skiing and the world of snow sports. You can follow me at Skipedia and the podcast at the Ski Podcast. But for now, I'd like to thank Switzerland Tourism for sponsoring the show and thank my guest today, Claire.
Thank you.
Neil.
Thanks for having me.
And Sally.
Thank you very much, Iain.
And Al.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Iain.
And finally, listener, thank you for joining us. Until next time, goodbye.